Good morning, community. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast, Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Alba. I am 12 years post-stroke and brain aneurysm survivor. I got a real interesting guest, special guest today. Her name is Lisa Piano, and she has made her life's passion her career to help stroke survivors like you and me. So let's get into it right now.
The Stroke of Genius podcast, hosted by brain aneurysm and stroke survivor Aaron Avila, sharing the experiences of survivors and CEOs. This is your destination for inspiration.
Well, good morning, Lisa. How you doing?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And thanks for having me. I'm excited to be doing this show with you.
Well, as you know, when was the show, I got a new computer. I lost our entire show. I've been frantically rebuilding things. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad we're doing it together. I'm hoping we can do many more in the future.
Sounds good to me.
So introduce yourself. Tell the audience about who you are.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Lisa, and I live in Stanton, Virginia, the beautiful Shenandoah Valley. I'm a Michigander at heart. That's where I grew up. But ever since I came to Virginia, this has been home, and I've been here just under 40 years. But so anyway, I am an occupational therapist in training, and I've had over 30 years of experience in working primarily in the hospitals. And just to kind of give you a little bit about how I got started in my business, injury recovery coaching, I found that after working, with a lot of stroke survivors and in the hospital setting, that the rehab process has done a wonderful job with getting survivors started in their physical recovery. But I've noticed that, what really lacked was helping survivors cope with the emotional side of physical limitations. So with that awareness, and on top of the devastating effects that stroke has on people, that's why I kind of decided to found Injury Recovery Coaching, which is an online service to help stroke survivors with support, education, accountability in terms of moving forward with their life and helping them cope with, some of those devastating effects. So that's where I'm at. And, it's been a fun ride so far.
Well, I think probably that you mentioned one word that's been big to me, and that's the word accountability. It is extremely difficult to be accountable. I use my live streaming to be accountable. You see me walk and do other live streaming things. That is accountability, and what a difference it makes to have that. And you've made your career out of helping stroke survivors. You build your what is the name of your company?
Injury Recovery Coaching.
And you help us be accountable and also help us be. We're going to talk a little bit more about this.
Right.
Setting goals and how critical it is to set goals in our rebuilding a life after stroke, because I can be honest with you, Lisa. I'm myself not a very good goal setter. I really could use that advice too, personally in my life, to set the goals and how to make them not so you can't achieve them, and so
exactly.
So we'll get into that, but let's just dive right into it. What is goal setting, and what does it do for us as stroke survivors?
Okay, yeah. So I do want to talk about, the importance of goals. I thought it'd be good maybe to talk about the techniques of a good goal and then how to be successful with goals. But you're right. Goal setting, I think a lot of times for survivors, um, they they tend to think like, well, how can I set a goal if I can't even really tie my shoes yet? Or how can I move ahead if I don't really know where I'm going? And so I think it's important to really think, for survivors, that you don't have to be fully functional before you set goals. Even though you may be struggling with things, and of course you will be, but you still need to move forward. And goals just don't have to be things you used to be able to do, but goals help motivate us forward to start achieving things that you want to achieve. And I think a lot of people tend to think, for survivors anyway, their goals are focused on physical things. But it doesn't have to be, a goal doesn't have to be toward physical rehabilitation. It can be toward just getting involved in a meaningful activity. You could set a goal for a hobby, or, to do something in the kitchen. You can set goals for relationships. So even though you may be, working on physical issues, the goals, can be all encompassing no matter what area you want to address. Because goals help us move forward. Otherwise, if we're always doing the same thing or the same physical rehabilitation, things get kind of blah and you get stuck in a rut. So goals just kind of help us find meaning, feel a sense of accomplishment, find some purpose. So they really are crucial to moving forward after a stroke. And
Can I ask you when you set the goals? I think it's really great. You brought up a great point, which is it doesn't necessarily have to be physical recovery. You can set a goal to be more involved with the family. You can set a goal
yes,
for
yeah,
other reasons other than physical.
right,
And it's funny, we lady in my show and my movement, we've been talking about mindset and
yes,
how important the mind is, but it is the start of all rebuilding a life after stroke. And
exactly.
how do we, how do we, what is the damage or what is the potential problem of setting a goal that's too lofty or too high of goal?
Right. Well, the thing that I think really hinders people, survivors anyway, are survivors want to be able, typically they want to be able to do what they used to be able to do.
Right.
If they can't do what they were doing before, then they feel like a failure, or they feel like they're not making progress, or it's not moving fast enough. So, so I think that it's important to realize, there's these expectations that you have to let go of those old expectations and think of where you're at, and what would be successful for how you're currently moving forward. But it's a mental struggle, overcoming old expectations and going with what's realistic. And actually, I do want to talk about how to make a goal successful.
Please.
So we'll talk more about that, because it does involve some planning and some forethought. But
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to find out more about that because
mhm,
in my experiences, I have been helping stroke survivors for about 6 years now.
mhm.
And probably the biggest thing they get stuck, they can't be what they were like.
Right,
So
right.
they don't say stop trying.
Yes, yes.
So, so let's talk about how do we overcome that stuck in the mud mentality as stroke survivors?
Well, I think there's a couple things you can do. And one is, looking at how can you, especially as a stroke survivor, what do you want to do? Break it down into small steps, and how you have to come with the mental attitude of how can I be successful? What do I need to do to be successful to accomplish this goal? So one is you need to break it down into steps. And for example, say you wanted to, fry an egg. All right. So you begin, and it involves that planning and forethought. So you begin thinking about, well, what's required for me to fry an egg? Well, you have to be able to, bend down and get the frying pan out of the cupboard. You have to go to the fridge and get an egg, and then you have to transport it to the stove. You have to be able to crack the egg. And so can you do those things? Where you currently at physically, can you do those things? And if you can't, well, then problem solve and adapt so that you can do those things. So what you may want to do is, if you don't know if you can do those things, instead of just making the goal of, I want to fry an egg tomorrow, maybe you could do it, want to fry an egg by the end of the week. But maybe before that, you'll go in the kitchen and see if you can reach the cabinet, see if you can crack an egg open with one hand, and and have it problem solved. Like, okay, if you crack an egg with one hand and the shell gets in there, how are you going to get it out? What are you going to put it in? So it involves problem solving, just kind of thinking it through, writing down the steps. And and I would start with like a weekly goal, something you'd like to do within a week, and then figure out, well, what are the steps you need to accomplish before really working on that goal.
Yeah, I was please. That's been probably. I've been a survivor now for going on 12 years, and
Yeah.
I have not used power of goal setting. I'm so glad for time with this, because I know that if I sat back, and
Mhm.
I think the key to proper goal setting is to take it step by step by step by step to
Yeah.
achieve. I was always, self-employed before my stroke, and it's like a staircase. The
Right.
goal is to take the top of staircase,
Right.
but there are
Right.
all these little steps in between to get the top of the staircase.
Right.
And I
Right.
know that there is power in doing it probably like you're saying, what your coaching experience is saying to do. Because we all struggle with ourselves, want to wake up and be the same as we were, and that's not going
Right.
to happen.
Right.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say that's where, we really need to begin thinking about problem solving and adapting. So even though you may not be able to do it like you used to be able to do, say fry an egg, well, it doesn't mean you can't do it. Look at adaptive ways you can do it. Maybe you need to take a chair in the kitchen and sit while you're doing it. Or maybe you need to put the pans and stuff on the counter so that you don't have to bend over and get them if you're unstable. So it's all about problem solving and adapting, um, you know, and just kind of taking it one step at a time like that. But I
Well,
think
I think that could be really transformational. I can see, I'm now imagining myself, okay, what, because, I'm in a wheelchair, and I've been in a wheelchair going on 12 years. And there's
right,
a part of me that says, oh man, I want to walk. Well, I can't walk, just get up, walk on the chair, but I can if I'm stoved up or I am freezing up. The step one is start stretching and
right,
stretch for 2 weeks, a month. The step two is, again, stepping,
Yeah.
climbing the staircase to get my goal is to walk someday.
Right. Right. And so, you're able to take a few steps, right?
Yeah.
And so, just kind of slowly building on that, maybe standing at the counter and doing something to work on, co-contracting those muscles. But the thing is, you don't have to stop living because you're in a wheelchair. Yes, you can continue to work toward being able to walk, but you can still like go fishing. I remember one episode on one of your videos, you were talking about fishing, and it's like, well, it can be done. Yes, you have to make some adaptations, but if you enjoy those things, it's so important to get back into them,
Yeah.
and just kind
Yeah.
of look at it small, step by step.
It's funny. I'm going to take this part. I'm going to use myself as a bad example right now because I went to that fishing thing and saw me trying to use my left hand with my affected hand,
Right,
turn the fishing reel. I got frustrated and stopped,
right,
but I didn't keep going. So I think the important thing is, so we talk about goal setting, is that you can't give up because it's difficult. It's not going to be easy. I
right.
know many, many, many stroke survivors that because they can't be the same as they were, they just flat out stop trying. They're waiting to die, basically.
Right, right. And, you were asking about what gets in the way of successful goals. And I think that is the other thing is the mindset
Yeah.
is, if a lot of people, if they can't do it like they could before the stroke, then they see it as not being successful.
Right.
And I think part of that is, well, first of all, the expectation, but I think there's a part where in our head, we say, oh, it's not going to work, or, oh, I know I'm going to fail, or I can't do it, or what's the use? And we give up before we even try. And so, like, my challenge to people a lot of times in talking with people is to really think about what are those messages you give yourself, because we need to, especially as survivors, need to give yourself nurturing messages, encouraging messages, and because that'll help motivate us forward or motivate you forward. But if the messages you give yourself are always negative, then that's going to stop you from trying.
Right. Right. Jeff Roberts, I'm bringing back out camera, but Jeff Roberts coming to us out of Southern California. He said the only failure is not to try at all. Really, and it's so true, not trying. Like, I'm going to get back in the fish ground reel. I'm not going to allow frustration get the best of me. I'm going to keep trying. And I would fail if I didn't try. So, I think it's important for all stroke survivors to realize, only way you can fail is stop trying.
Exactly. Because there are ways to adapt. And that's what the whole world of occupational therapy is adapting so people can participate in meaningful activities. So the information is out there, and it may, if you don't know how to adapt an activity, look it up on YouTube. And I'm trying to create some videos on YouTube to help people adapt in certain activities. But yeah, just some problem solving and adaptation is what it takes. And talk to other people. Like, my husband is very creative, and if I get stuck about how to do something differently, ask somebody else or bring it up to the stroke community and see what they've done. I find that the stroke community has been very creative with coming up with some, adaptive techniques to get by. So if you're stuck, with how to do something that you want to do, bring it up to the stroke community, and let them help you problem solve as well.
But yet it's such a simple yet profound. And yet, we have a stroke survivor support community called Second Chance Stroke Survivors, and that has over 5,700 stroke survivors from around the world.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
what a research! Honestly, I know it sounds silly, but I myself get to not using them to help me problem solve.
Yeah,
There's a lot of that problem solve the very thing I'm going through.
exactly.
If they're out there, community, I want to encourage each and every one of you. Like Lisa just suggested, one, set goals. Two, use your other survivors to problem solve.
Exactly. I mean, I've learned that's where I get a lot of my learning is from, survivors who have been very creative in resolving issues. So yeah, it just open it up to the community, and you get the support, you get that connection, and it'll help you begin working toward that goal.
Yeah,
So
that's really awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit, kind of go back a little bit because I want people to make very clear that you were an occupational therapist, worked for somebody, I don't know who, I'm sorry, but
right,
you were a professional occupational therapist
right.
who saw a need and created her own business, her
Yeah,
own her own way to help people. And
yeah.
tell me a little bit more about the professional side of your what you're doing with your company and what you do.
Well, as I said, it's an online service, so you don't have to just live in Stanton, Virginia, but anywhere in the states or anywhere in the world. And it's kind of like telehealth medicine, where you can go online and talk to a doctor. That's what it is. It's all online, and it can be over the computer, it can be over the phone, what have you. I think there's value in seeing people, so doing it on the computer would be great. But it's really helping the stroke survivor who is ready to move forward. They want to get back into life. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they just maybe need a little encouragement, like I said, support, accountability, and how to get there. So what I really focus in on is helping people get them started in figuring out what they want out of life, in creating a vision. um, what's important to them, what do they see themselves doing 10 years from now, because if you don't know where you're headed, you're not going to get there. So you have
That's
to,
true.
and just because they may be limited physically, again, that doesn't mean they can't set goals for the future. Because even, I don't know where I'm going to be 10 years from now, because you're changing, you're growing, things may come affect your life, and you have to make adjustments. So just like fully functional person, the stroke survivor is the same way. You have to at least have a vision of where you're going. And then this is where the problem solving and adapting comes in, is helping them figure out how to get there. And again, the accountability part of making sure they're follow through, because like we were saying, it can be overwhelming when your expectations are so high that you always feel like you're failing, or that you're you get derailed by your thoughts of not being good enough. So that's where that support and accountability come in, is just helping people make sure they're following through with their goals, helping them problem solve along the way, make it adaptations, and just putting it in their lap, giving them the control, that they want to begin living a, meaningful, purposeful life.
Yeah, Lisa, I have been sad because I knew many stroke survivors out there that maybe they're watching this program. I don't know, but they lost their vision, they lost their zest for life, their enjoyment of life. They're basically just waiting to die, and I
Yeah,
find that very sad.
it
They
is.
don't want to improve. They're okay with just nothing, just so.
Right, right. And um, yeah, when the drive is gone, I think a lot of it can be brought back with that support and encouragement, just helping people see that they have a choice. You don't have, just because physically you aren't who you used to be, you still have a choice. Um, and just giving them that support and education. One thing I've done too is I have a YouTube channel, injury recovery coaching. You can reach it, but I'm trying to just help people, just educate people about, or stroke survivors, about how to get back into life. So I do have several videos out there, if they want to check them out. But that's my goal too, is to educate survivors. And every week I'm trying to put out a new video that will help people make that connection that I can move forward. I can regain control of my life. It's in my hands. It's in it's in my power. And so, that's what I really want to help them see, that there's possibility out there.
Yeah, that is, man, that is so critical. People, you and I talked a little bit about this before. Mindset.
Mm.
The Henry Ford had a quote that he quoted. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, both are correct.
Right,
So
right.
it's important that we as stroke survivors realize we can. It may be different, but we
Exactly.
can.
Yes, yeah. And that's it. It may be different. So, even this idea of letting go, so you may not be the same person you were, but you can recreate yourself to be somebody new. It doesn't mean you're any less of a person. You're just different. You're just, you're recreating yourself, and to find, that love within yourself, that it's okay. You don't have to be like, what society expects.
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing, that the realization I've had as a stroke survivor. And that's realizing that you're not gonna go back and be the same you were. I'm not a stroke TV. We're not a big advocate of the word recovery, because in our reality, you're not gonna be the same as you were.
Right.
But you can rebuild yourself to actually, like I'm doing, to be better than you were before.
Exactly. Exactly.
We have
Yeah.
an opportunity, and people like to compare themselves as what they were, not where they're
Right.
going. Unfortunately, we're down last minute of the show, but let's take a last minute before getting into it. Tell people how they get hold of you and maybe acquire your services.
Well, I'm on the web at injuryrecoverycoaching.com. And on that website, there's a link to YouTube, or you can just go to YouTube and, type in injury recovery coaching, and hit my channel. I'm on Facebook, injury recovery coaching, Instagram, same thing.
Sorry. Yeah, not giving us the.
That's our time, isn't it?
No.
So, but yeah, injury recovery coaching, check it out. Check out some videos. You can do it. That's what I want my message to be today for all the survivors is you can do it. So you have a choice. And you've been a great example of that, Aaron.
Yeah,
So
I do my best. I probably not as vocal about my failures. I mean, the reason I'm doing what I do, and the reason I have accomplished what I accomplished, is because I fail so much. It actually teaches you. If you can
yeah,
be able to be failing,
yeah,
it can teach you. So
yes,
I want to encourage you out there. We're down to the end of the show, but I want to encourage people. Now, do you offer a free consultation? Can you please? I'll put all links in the YouTube video, in the description. But could you tell us what your email is, and how people can email you, and
yeah.
set up a coaching service?
Excellent. Yes. So if you can email me at Lisa at injuryrecoverycoaching.com.
That's
And I'd
how
love to
I see
talk
it.
with you. Yeah, to see if we can work together or just give you some helpful ideas. I'd love to hear from any of you. So,
Well, I definitely know the Stroke TV media wants to get in a place, and I told you this before. I have a vision for a future vision, be able to raise money to be able to help people get involved with you, and if we maybe sponsor some people. Some of you and I are working on it in the future. But I wanted to thank you for being here. And remember, that's injuryrecoverycoaching.com.
yeah,
Injuryrecoverycoaching.com. Get hold of Lisa. Talk to her. People, our life is not over because of a stroke. We're rebuilding a life of a stroke. And
yeah.
look at it this way. You have a chance to rebuild yourself better than you were before, like I'm doing. So,
Amen.
Lisa, thank you so much for
Oh, my pleasure.
appreciate.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Set me on fire.